The most vivid memory from my childhood is a giant neon sign. An enormous blue rectangle that loomed about 40 feet in the air. On it, a colossal number 6 painted in white and red font. The beauty of it shined out, glowing from the wonderful chemical reaction inside. The electricity danced together like the most eloquent symphony ever composed. My eyes would stare at it for hours, reading the words that were so vibrant and beautiful I'm able to still recite them. Motel 6. Right underneath this sign was a digital ticker, $49.99 at night. If I was fortunate, right next to this ticker was the word vacancy. This word rarely lit up the night sky, but when it did, a sense of relief would overwhelm my body. Because this word meant that I didn't have to go back to the rancid homeless shelter. It meant that I didn't have to worry about strangers sleeping a foot away from me, their breath sending chills down my spine. It meant that I didn't have to sleep on a concrete sidewalk or a metal park bench. It meant that I could finally feel clean as hot water rushed over my body. Feeling clean. It is such a basic feeling that I often went without. That sign meant more to me, however. It was hope, or more accurately, false hope, that somehow, some way, my family would have a home again. But I was never that lucky. The sign was never on, or more simply, we didn't have enough money. Reality was my mother's drug addiction came first. So, those hard, cardboard bunk beds, covered in bed bugs at the homeless shelter, were all I knew for 8 months. What made it worse was my mother would constantly be shunned by every shelter and every help we had the slim chance of receiving because of her addiction. The rules called for it. This led to the same result. With nothing in place to help her, with no action being taken to make her better by either side, they would terminate our relationship. They would kick us out. I had no understanding what was going on. I was 11 years old. And I was too busy trying to help find food and water and winter coats for me and my brother. Yet, as we took that lonesome walk down the main street of the town we lived, the neon sign called to me. We walked past that building, that sign close to 1,000 times, and to me, it was heaven. A rundown 2-star motel was a vacation. I looked into that faded red 6 like the cartoon idols kids are supposed to have. That 6 became my Mickey Mouse, and that building became my Disneyland. It was all an escape from the world I lived in. In America today, so many kids live the life I lived. They face the sinister side of homelessness, and they never get the opportunity to receive help. Babies who can't even talk yet watch their mamas battle the demons of drug abuse. And these battles often leave poor kids without diapers, without food, without beds, and especially without a roof over their heads. These demons sneak around our streets and they curse good people. They are the reason why homelessness is so prominent in recent years. Drug addiction is a dominant force in the rise of homelessness, and that is where our solution must start. We must introduce comprehensive rehabilitation centers inside of every shelter, focused on getting the homeless the help they need. A free and reliable way to improve. And this must be completed with real rehabilitation therapists to ensure quality treatment. In the current system, there's a lack of care for those who need it, and it is inexcusable. They are told to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, that they're lazy. They are told they are the problem when they have no way of getting themselves out. However, throughout the history of our country, we have always made massive growths in the quality of life with real drastic changes. And this moment, fighting to rid the homeless of their demons calls for drastic change. Therefore, that drastic change, The change that will actually end homelessness is guaranteeing low-income housing and imposing rent control across. This incredible call for action comes at the consequence of my experiences as a homeless child. These experiences taught me that there's more to homelessness than just drug abuse and being poor, and that there's a necessity for change from someone who knows what it's like. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to find a home, to dream about being in there, to be overwhelmed with joy and happiness at just the chance to get my head inside of a house that isn't occupied by anyone other than my family. I know what it's like to pick my things up out of the Motel 6 or Salvation Army Crisis Center at the prospect of change. I know the highs so well, yet I also know what it's like to be told I have to leave again. I know what it's like when a landlord lifts his rent because he doesn't want a group of smelly, malnourished kids in his studio apartment. I know what it's like to watch loved ones lose their jobs because they can't handle the workers' abuse of minimum wage. I know what it's like to go without toothbrushes and without food just to meet the demands of a homeowner who hates me. I know what it's like to be hopeless, to be homeless, and to be forgotten. This knowledge and experience means we must guarantee low-income housing for families that cannot afford it. There must be a fundamental shift to help the poor. The drastic income gap has to change, and that means building a base upon which we stand. Housing for all Americans is the right step. We build upon the acts of the Housing Act of 1934 and 1937. Having the state government pay subsidies to housing complexes and building more to benefit Californians right now. Push forward legislation that protects rent and stop relying on the kindness of people's hearts when lives are at stake. No one's life should be in the hands of a landlord, and no one should ever go hungry because they can't afford rent. That is the marker, that is the sign of progress in the future. That is the change we need. That blue sign ended up being my savior, but as I said, it should have never been. One magical day, it shined with the word vacancy, and we had just enough money to make rent. That miracle led to much more. On the days leading up to that night, I came in contact with my adopted father. That night, we managed to arrange a flight to escape the situation I was in. On August 19th, 2013, I flew away from the cardboard and the bedbugs. And I didn't have to think about the problems and the situation I faced the day before. However, my parental background continues to ail me. I have made profound relationships, but come my birthday, I will once again be qualified as homeless. Though, with the relationships I made and the knowledge and experience I possess, I know that I'll keep myself out of the gruesomeness of the past. However, no 18-year-old kid, no 11-year-old boy, no 6-year-old girl should ever be homeless. Fundamental changes have to be made. There must be an upheaval determined to help and improve, not dismantle and neglect. As a nation, we must push forward because we keep the things that happen to me with the status quo. If we guarantee the 3 things I proposed, we will eliminate the homeless problem, provide housing, provide treatment, and protect rent. As a society, we have to change the system we put the homeless in. Because no child should ever see a Motel 6 as their Disneyland. Thank you.